What is going on? Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I'm your host, Mark Henriksen, and Happy New Year. It's a brand new year. I hope you're all doing well. I hope that the holidays treated you well. Maybe you had a good Christmas. Maybe you celebrate something else. But I celebrate Christmas, so I hope you had a good Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hope you had a good whatever you celebrate. Hope the new year treated you well. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves over the New Year's safely and somewhat productively. But yeah, welcome to the new year. We're 2 days into the new year, I believe. I think at today when this drops, it'll be the 2nd. So it's a new year. Welcome to 2023, guys. I'm just as new to this as you guys are, so I hope that this year treats us all well. I wanted to welcome you all and have a good, warm welcoming to this new year, so welcome to the new year. If you're brand new to this podcast, what you can expect with a Risen Fallen podcast is open and authentic conversations about things like mental health and self-development. If you're not brand new to this podcast, if you've listened to this podcast before, then thank you for coming back. Thank you for being a returning listener or viewer, whether you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you consume your podcasts, or maybe you're watching the YouTube version of this. But welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well. And, in the last, episode, I got to interview Calvin. Calvin and I had a wicked conversation, so I recommend you guys go and check that chat out after you listen to this episode, because this episode I just wanted to share a few quotes to kick off this year to, and I've done this before where I share a few quotes, but I wanted to kind of gear these more towards the new year and setting a new energy for yourself, setting a new kind of perspective for yourself, maybe setting up some new goals that you've got going on. Maybe you're setting up some new habits or some behavioral patterns for yourself that are going to get you moving in the right direction. So I thought I'd just kind of share a couple of quotes here and see, how you guys feel about them. Maybe reach out to me after, leave a little review, leave a comment if you're watching the YouTube version of this. Let me know what you think of these quotes. If you have any quotes that you wanted to share, then share them with us as well. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, remember to rate it 5 stars. Going into the new year here, it would really help me out, boost me in the algorithms. And leave a little review, rate it 5 stars. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, then make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And just like I said, it really helps me out with the algorithm and getting other people to see this kind of stuff, because I think that having these open and authentic conversations about things like self-development and mental health is really the key to bettering our lives and being able to better the lives of other people as well, because so many people kind of have weird, falsified, I like to say the sunshine and rainbow conversations, but we don't really get to have the nitty-gritty conversations about actually doing the deep inner work, which I think is 10 times more important, which is why I've been discussing that in the most recent episodes. So if you guys are interested in that, you haven't listened to this show before, then go back and listen to the most recent episodes, the last few that I've done, because I've really been trying to do a deep dive into my own psyche and share how I've been doing that as well. So let's kick it off with a couple of quotes here. The first one is from Jim Rohn. Now, no matter what you think of Jim Rohn, some people like him, some people don't. Sometimes he rubs me the wrong way, but this quote is just so important that I thought I'd have to share it with you guys. And what he says here is, days are expensive, and when you spend a day, you have one less day to spend. So make sure you spend each day wisely. And this is so important because there's so many times when we want to just call a day a complete write-off. We want to call a day and just say, okay, this is my fuck off day. This is where I'm going to just chill out and I'm going to do nothing. And we all have those days where we wake up with a little less energy than we usually have, a little less motivation than we usually have, a little less drive to actually do the things that we need to do. And those are the days that are the most important in my personal perspective. I think that it's so easy to win the day when you're feeling like you're motivated. It's so easy to win the day when you feel driven and when you feel like, okay, I got this. I have the ultimate level of discipline today. But, you're not always going to have those days. Some days you're going to wake up and you're going to say, this is the day I want to toss in the towel. I want to say, fuck it. And that's why it's so important to me, to win the morning every single day, because when I wake up and I do 100 to 200 push-ups, I go for a little run, I get my day started with a good cup of coffee, I get to work on my podcast, I get to editing, I get to doing the work that makes me feel like I've done a good job during the day, then I know that even if I have less energy, even if I feel like my energy expenditure is a lot less throughout that day, I've still hit on the key points that I want to hit on, so that I don't feel like I've completely wasted a day, and I've made a little bit of progress forward in the goals that I have. So for me, a lot of the time what that looks like is to complete at least one workout, to spend a little bit of time with the people I love, to make a little bit of time to work on the podcast here. And if I can make a little bit of money, then that's a fucking bonus as well. So that's kind of the way I look at it. And again, each day, is going to be completely different. Some days you're going to check off 10 to 12 things on your list, and some days it's just about doing 1 or 2 or 3 critical tasks to make sure that you've won that day. And every single day is a new opportunity for you to make sure that you can get at least one step closer to the goals that you're working on. So remember that the very beginning of the quote, he says, days are expensive. And the reason that I think that stands out so much to me is because, sometimes we spend money frivolously, sometimes we spend our energy frivolously, but we always forget how important and expensive one day can be. I know that if you were to tell me today, this is going to be my last day on this earth, I know that I would give literally everything in my life to just be able to have one more day to spend it with the people that I love, to spend it doing the things that I love doing. And if I were to look back at, the year of 2022, I had a pretty solid year, but I know that there's days in that year where I didn't do the things that I love doing. And when I look back at those days, I'm like, man, I really wish I could have at least 1 or 2 of those days back and use them right now to do things that I wish that I did then. So that's one thing that really stands out to me with that quote, but I'm excited to hear what you guys think about that. Moving along, we're going to go into a quote by Tim Ferriss. Again, another great author. I think you guys, his work is worth checking out. I think you guys should go and check out Tim Ferriss if you haven't before. But this quote that Tim Ferriss has, he says, what we fear doing the most is usually the thing we most need to do. And this coincides so well with mental health and self-development, because for us to make changes in our lives, for us to make a pivot or to change directions in the way that we're going, a lot of the time we can think of a bunch of different ways that we can change our lives, right? You can think of maybe changing your nutrition plan, your exercise plan, who you hang out with, what you do for a living, etc., etc., etc. But usually the one thing that's going to be a catalyst in our lives and to be able to change the direction of our lives completely and get us moving in the right way is the thing that we don't want to do. And so a lot of us have resistance usually to 1 or 2 main things that we feel like we need to do, whether that's quitting a job, getting out of a shitty toxic relationship that holds us back and keeps us exactly where we are in life, or, maybe moving in with a partner, maybe moving out with a partner, maybe moving out of a shitty living situation. Maybe it's getting a new fitness routine started because, you keep telling yourself, oh, maybe I can just change my diet and I'll lose a little bit of weight and maybe I'll be able to just kind of do some intermittent fasting or whatever it could be. But maybe you've been really resisting, maybe going to the gym for the first time or trying to lift weights or whatever it could be. Whatever it is that you fear doing the most is what you need to do the most to get to the next step or the next chapter in your life. And every single day, like I was saying in the last quote, the days that are so expensive and the days that are so valuable, every single day that you spend resisting doing that one specific thing is one more day you're going to stay exactly where you are in life. And that's why I feel like this quote from Tim Ferriss what we fear doing the most is usually what we most need to do is so important. It's such a beautiful reminder for us to meditate on and to think about the things that we feel resistance to. The next quote that I want to share with you guys is a quote from Will Durant. And no, he is not in any relation, because I had to Google that, to Kevin Durant. But Will Durant was an author back in the day. And he says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit." And this is so important to remember as well, because a lot of us judge ourselves on our worst days, and a lot of us judge ourselves on our best days. When you want to feel like you're a beast, when you want to feel like you're a hyper successful individual, you think about your best days. You think about your biggest paychecks. You think about your biggest wins, and the days that, you didn't feel like doing something important, but you still did it anyways. And then a lot of us, when we're reflecting on our own, negativity, and we think about how shitty we are, we think about our biggest losses. We think about the time we let someone down, the time we let ourselves down. And I think it's important to remember that you're not the highest of the highs and the peaks of your life, and you're not your valleys. You're not your lowest of your lows or your rock bottom. You are what you repeatedly do. You are your habits. You are what the average of those things are, So you can't judge yourself on the highest of highs. You can't judge yourself on the lowest of lows. All you can judge yourself on is what you are on your average day. Because what you do in habit, what you do habitually, and that is regularly, is what you truly are. And so if you're consistently letting yourself down, if you're consistently letting down the people around you, then that's something you might want to consider. That's something you might want to change. If you're consistently skipping workouts, if you're consistently doing all of these negative things, then of course you're going to build negative self-beliefs. You're going to build, a lower confidence level. You're going to pretty much decimate your self-esteem. But the opposite is true as well. If you want to consider yourself, an athletic person, you need to make a habit of doing athletic things. If you want to consider yourself somebody that's dependable and that can be relied on, you need to consistently build the habit of being able to be relied on. You have to be there for others habitually. It has to be something that you not do once or twice, but something that you do regularly. And so that's something that you can think about when you're creating your self-image. When you sit down with your journal and you start to think about, what do I want to be? Who do I want to be? What do I want to think of myself? You need to think about the habits that coincide with those thoughts, those beliefs, those identities. If you want to be a successful person, you have to make a habit out of success. What does that look like for you? Is that a high paycheck? Then you have to make a habit of making more money. If it means, like I said, being reliable or being dependable or being able to be relied on, you need to make it a habit to be there for others. And that's tricky, because a lot of us think that means we have to forget about all the things that are important to us and just consistently be there for other people. But we all know that going down that road, you're going to empty yourself of energy and love and support and empathy and money. And so if you want to be dependable on other people, if you want to be, I should say, dependable for other people, sometimes it's important to be selfish so that you can be selfless. That means if you want to be dependable for other people, you need to be at your peak performance. You need to be at your best all the time. You need to be able to drop whatever you're doing and do whatever someone else needs you to do. And for that to be the case, that means you have to usually wake up earlier and stay up later and, be disciplined to the things that fill up your cup, so that if you do need to pour a little bit out of it to help out somebody else, you'll still have tons in reserve to keep yourself going to help the next person as well. So it reminds us to make whatever we want our identity to be a habit, instead of just judging ourselves on the highest of highs or the lowest of lows. The next quote I want to share with you is another Jim Rohn quote, and it is, "We must all suffer one of two things." He says, "the pain of discipline or the pain of regret or disappointment." Right? So I want you to actually think about that, because we hear quotes like this all the time. I want you to actually sit there and resonate and think about what I'm actually saying now. He says we have to suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline, right? And what he means by that is the pain of waking up early, the pain of waking up and first thing you're doing is going for a run, the pain of waking up and doing the thing that you don't want to do, making your coffee, strapping on your fucking running shoes and going for a run. The other side of that is the pain of disappointment or regret. So the pain of sleeping in a little bit later, the pain of being a little bit less active, a little bit less energized, a little bit more overweight, a little bit more lethargic. That's one example of how that could come into play. The other side of it, the pain of discipline, staying a little bit later at work, paying a little bit more tax, working 15 minutes earlier than somebody else, working on your side hustle when you get home from work, coming home from work and doing 10% more work than you normally do. That's the pain of discipline. The pain of regret or disappointment is seeing a smaller paycheck than you got paid before, or the same paycheck that you got paid before, knowing that you were capable of more. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret or disappointment, all of us are going to have to feel pain to some degree. The question is, do you want to get benefits from it, or do you want to have to delay the pain and increase the level that you're going to have to feel it? If you ask me, even though it's harder because you're taking the pain a lot earlier, I'd say the pain of discipline is a lot sweeter because the results and the rewards are way higher than the pain of regret and disappointment that come with instant gratification. So that's something to remember, especially going into this new year, because especially if you're trying to start new habits and you're trying to start new behaviors, the resistance, the pain that you're going to feel in terms of the discipline side of it are going to be extremely high, because you're breaking a boundary for yourself. You're breaking out of an old habit and creating a new one. And your ego, your body, your energy levels, everything is going to be working against you, telling you, stop doing this. Maybe you need to take a break. Maybe you need to start tomorrow. Maybe you need to wait till next week. Maybe you need to stop and wait until next month. Maybe this year's not your year. Maybe you should just fucking start next year. And the resistance when you're starting a new habit or you're trying to create a new habit is so much higher because it's uncharted territory. And so remember that no matter what, you're going to suffer. You're going to feel a pain. And so you get to choose. It's in your hands. You get to choose whether that pain is the pain of discipline that's going to give you rewards for a long, everlasting time, or you choose the pain of regret and disappointment and you suffer much longer and you get to delay it because you have the instant gratification, but it's suffering much longer further on in time. So that's something that you're going to have to think about and reflect on coming into this new year. And then I want to leave you with a couple of Stoic quotes, because you guys know that I love Stoic philosophy, and it was something that inspired me to start reading in the first place when I first started reading and journaling. And the very first book that I received was The Art of Living, which was quotes from Epictetus, or Epictetus. I'm not really still 100% sure on how to pronounce that, even though I've been reading about it for years and years and years. But that's what introduced me to reading and philosophy in the very first place. And so a couple of quotes from a couple Stoic philosophers. The first one is Seneca, and he says, "The day a man becomes superior to pleasure, he will also become superior to pain." And so that coincides a lot with what the last quote was saying, especially because what he's saying is, when you become superior to pleasure, what does that actually mean? He says, when you become superior to pleasure, you will also become superior to pain. So when you're able to say no to the instant gratification, when you're able to be superior to the instant pleasures, the sweet beckoning of the fucking siren call, the warm bed sheets in the morning calling you back to bed, the fucking sugary treats that are calling your name, the escape, going home early from work or skipping a workout. When you become superior to those pleasures, you also become superior to the pain that coincides with those pleasures. So again, it kind of ties perfectly into the last quote that I was telling you guys about. is that you're going to have to feel pain no matter what. And when you become superior to the pleasures, what that really means is you become a little bit more powerful so that those things aren't able to lure you in as easily. And then you get the long-term pleasure of knowing that you did the right thing. And the very last quote that I want to share with you guys is a quote from Pythagoras. And what he says is, "Do not seek for happiness. It is always within yourself." And this is huge. This is something that impacted me quite a bit, actually, when I first read this quote, because a lot of us, myself included, have always looked for, happiness and pleasure and joy and development from outside sources. We want to go to counseling. We want to get medication. We want to get a personal trainer to give us, everything from a meal plan to a workout plan to tell us what to do. We're always looking for the answers outside of ourselves. We're always looking for a reason that we can't do this progress, because that's truly what it is. When you're looking for instruction or the answers from outside of yourself, what you're really looking for is an excuse for why you couldn't do something in the first place, because that means when you get instruction, when you get answers from an outside source and it doesn't work, you can easily have the cop out and say, I was just following my orders. I was just following instruction from this person or that person, this coach, this counselor, this doctor, whatever. And it gives us a cop out to think, I did my best. I worked my hardest and it didn't work. So I guess I can just throw in the towel. When really the answers, if you were to look into any Stoic philosophy or any, self-development book worth its weight in fucking pennies, the way to find true development, the way to find true happiness, the way to find any source of good in this world is going to come from within. This takes reflection and this takes discipline and hard work. It doesn't take a genius. Maybe you do need a little bit of a helping hand when you're first getting started because you want to get pointed in the right direction. But I think that the answer for a lot of us is a lot more clear than we want to admit. If you want to make more money, you have to be a little bit more disciplined with how you spend your money. You have to be a lot more disciplined with how you work. You want to maybe get a promotion, get a raise. You have to increase the income and decrease the expenses. If you want to trim up a little bit of fat and gain a little bit of muscle, you're going to have to fucking work hard. You're going to have to do a lot more resistance training. You're going to have to do a lot more cardio even. And you're going to have to eat a lot less garbage and bullshit. If you want to feel happier, if you want to feel, a lot more, enlightened, if you want to just even feel a lot more lighter and less bogged down by the world, stop going on fucking social media. Stop scrolling through fucking bullshit. Stop watching YouTube videos all day, except for this one. And stop fucking, scrolling through Netflix looking for the next movie or TV show to watch. And do something that's actually going to make you feel good. Read a book, listen to a fucking podcast that's going to help you out. Go for a run. Do something that's actually going to boost your energy. And stop trying to find these answers or these, instant gratifications from outside sources when the happiness, the true key is inside you already. You know what you have to do. You know what's going to get you to the next level. And you know what's going to make you feel better. Yet we still go ahead and do the things that we know are going to make us feel worse. And we tell ourselves, oh, I'll just do this for today and I'll break this habit tomorrow and then I'll get, started in the right direction tomorrow. But what happens the next day? You tell yourself the exact same thing. And so stop looking for answers from outside of yourself. Stop looking for that motivation and start to use a little bit of discipline and get the answer. The answer, I've already said it, but the answer's already out there. You already know what it is. You just have to do the work now. You just have to do whatever it is will get you to the next chapter of your life or the next step in your life. And it's the thing you've been resisting doing the most. So that's all I got. That's, I think, all the quotes I'm going to share with you guys for today. Going into the new year, we're still going to do the in-person meetups as much as we possibly can. We'll probably do a little bit of, a few Zoom calls going into this year as well. So if you want to join the Risen Fallen mental health group, reach out to me on Instagram. It's at Risen Fallen. Message me there. I'll throw you in the Telegram group. We'll chat about when we can go on hikes, go for coffee meetups, all the cool shit as well. If you want to help support those things, but you can't make it out, you can cop the merch. We have hoodies and tees still available on the website, www.risenfallen.com. So if you want to support the mental health group there, you can. All the proceeds go towards our in-person meetups. Whether we go skating, we go hiking, we go grab lunch, we go grab coffee, whatever it is, it's all paid for by the merch. So I appreciate everybody that does support as well. But that's all I got. It's the new year. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Happy fucking Monday. Get your week going and get your year going in the right direction. Maybe listen back to these quotes and write a couple down and think about which one is most important to you. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, comment it below actually to let me know which quote was the most important to you and which quotes you'd want to hear more about. And if you have a quote that you want to hear my thoughts or opinions on, then share with me. So share it in your comment. Share it in the review if you're listening to the podcast version of this, or just fucking shoot me a message on Instagram. That's all I got. Happy fucking Monday. I'll check you guys on Thursday. Much love and peace out.